Hello everyone, I am back today to do a comparison between how I used to apply my makeup 10 years ago versus how I apply my makeup now. I'm talking about like my everyday makeup. I've been on YouTube now for over 10 years, so I actually have documented evidence of how I used to do my makeup. And things have changed a lot in that time. I asked you all for suggestions on what you want to see on my channel, and I had this sort of suggestion pop up from various people, and this is the sort of iteration I've made from that. So what I'm going to do today is do half my makeup like how I used to do it, and then half my makeup how I do it today, and explain what the differences are, why there's differences, just reflect on what we've learnt and how we've grown and how trends have changed. Now, I want to say I went back 10 years on my YouTube channel and I was grabbing screenshots from videos that are now private. And I have to say, besides the amount of makeup I wore, the style is still very similar. So I was quite surprised. I'm like, oh, I still wear makeup like that. So yeah, at least I'm being sort of consistent in what I like, because I've got photos of me wearing blue eyeliner, which I still do today. A lot of videos of me wearing bright red lips. Some lipsticks I still have today. I've repurchased them, of course, but like Lady Danger sort of reds, yeah, I had that back then. I've got that now. Now, I do want to flag that I don't have all the same products that I used to wear back then. I do have some that are kicking around, so I'm going to use those, but essentially I'm just going to try to mimic that look with the same makeup I have today. So what I'm going to be doing on my 2015 side is use Huda Easy Blur. This was not around, but I don't have actually too many foundations these days in my stash, which I'm proud of. But essentially what I used to do was go as matte and as full coverage as possible. Now, I did still have back then a bit of redness. I still did have breakouts. So I tried to sort of build up my base quite a bit. But what I also used to do, which I learned, is that because I went so heavy on my eye makeup and like my lip makeup and whatnot, you sort of have to balance it out with being kind of heavy elsewhere. I know it sounds weird. Hear me out. So there were times in my makeup journey that I tried to go a lot lighter with my base, but I found that when I had really strong eye looks, it ended up looking a bit uneven. So it's sort of like one in, all in. Now, in the more recent years, I've pared back my eyeshadow and my colored face products, which meant that I could pare back my base. Does that make sense? I don't know. I sort of feel like makeup is balanced. Sometimes you want to highlight a feature for sure, but other times you just want things to look like it makes sense. I did go pretty heavy-handed with concealer, like not crazy amounts, but stuff that I didn't need, to be fair. I still wear a little bit of concealer today, but not always. So I used to do my makeup and it used to take me a long time. So every day I'd spend like at least 45 minutes doing my makeup, and that was okay back then because I had the time. I do not have that time now. A good example is this week alone. There were two times this week where I sat down at my computer and I'm like, oh shit, I've got a meeting in 5 minutes. Oh shit, I haven't done my makeup. So I've done my makeup in less than 5 minutes so I can turn up to a work meeting and not be sort of barefaced. Another thing I used to do, and again, this is possibly because I was younger and I had oilier skin, I used to powder the bejesus out of my face. Now, to be fair, I still powder my face, but for very different reasons these days. So I've got some Huda Easy Bake powder. So this is in the shade Poundcake, and I would go pretty solid. And again, it was because I had oily skin. My oily skin would break down my makeup, so I'd go really heavy-handed. I also really liked that sort of flat matte look, which I don't love as much these days, and I think that's again an age thing. I'm already looking like a desert, which I don't remember looking like that back in the day. I'm just wearing my Maybelline Lumi Matte foundation on my other side, and I'm using a lot less. Also using a sponge, but these days I just sort of use less if I can. You can see that this does have dewiness, and to be fair, I'm not even going to put concealer on because that's enough coverage for me. If I was looking kind of dark in here, I might put some, but realistically all I'm going to do is grab the same powder, but what I'm going to do is mainly set where I need it. And I find that I need to do it on my forehead because I can get creasing here from the fine lines. I need to do it in here. Again, I can get creasing around there, just around my nose and on my chin. So that's all I really bother powdering. This area I don't powder because I quite like the hydration there. It also means that I could, if I wanted to, use like a liquid or like a putty blush or something. So realistically, it's more about just setting the areas that are going to crease with the fine lines, and I get a little bit oily here and here. So a lot less powdering and a lot less sort of flat matte, but it looks similar, let's be real. All right, this is a huge difference. What I used to do a lot was bronze. Now, to be fair, I used to fake tan more than I do now. And what I mean by that is I don't now, I haven't for years. So I think it would make sense that I would put bronzer to sort of go down my neck a bit, match my body. These days, it doesn't look good because it doesn't suit my coloring and I don't fake tan. I'm quite fair. So having like orange or brown around here just looks like I'm wearing a lot of makeup. And I've learnt my lesson because there's been times where I have worn bronzer and then I've seen people take photos of me, like let's say like family photos or whatnot, and I just look like I'm wearing a cakey amount of makeup because you can see this sort of bronze, like this brown bit near my hairline. And I just learnt that bronze is not for me. So 10 years ago and even 5 years ago, I used to wear quite a bit of bronzer and now I've stopped. Now I've got a MAC one here. This is Beige-ing Beauty. And what I used to do a lot was just sort of start here and almost do that sort of 3 thing where you would go around here. It actually feels very natural. I'm like, okay, the technique is coming back to me. So yeah, I wouldn't even go too much with the bronzer, but I don't do that now. So that, and like you can see, just see the hairline. It doesn't match the rest of me. Like all of a sudden that looks like a lot of makeup. But I used to do that because that's how I used to do it. I used to also try to like do my hand at like contouring a little bit, which I realized again just makes me look like I've got dirt on my face. But it does make your face look slimmer, but I just think it looks a little bit, to me, it's not my kind of vibe. I used to go highlighter crazy. To be fair, I still love highlighter. This is a highlighter I've had for 10 years and this is MAC Soft and Gentle and I'm bringing it out because I love it. I love her. I still love her. She's beautiful. But what I used to do a lot was sort of just put it here. Just put it there. So you got that sort of thing. I sometimes put some on my nose. I still do. But you would have that really stripe. And you can see what is bad about that. Emphasizes texture. It just looks odd. It looks odd. I don't like it. That I probably would have blended a little bit. You can see even like the bronzer just with my face, and I've got texture. I've got little like moles and stuff. It just doesn't even look very good. It just looks kind of patchy, even though it's not. So that's what I would have done. That was my face coloring. Not now. Oh no, I don't do any of that. These days, I still like highlighter. Not like that strip though. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to diffuse it a lot more. But what I like even more is going for a really glowy blush. So this is like what I would consider like a 2-in-1 product. And again, for me at the moment, speed. It's all about speed in the last 5 years. I'm a mum. If I'm going to wear makeup, I've got to make it work in less than 10 minutes. This is the Nabla Glazing Glass Skin Finish Glow Powder. If I don't say the full name, I'm going to have it in the description box, but this is the shade Truth. What I love about this, I'm just going to get on a bit of a fluffy brush, and I'm going to get a bit of it because I don't go subtle with it, but it's just a different technique. So I love a blush that you can use, it's probably too much, but you know, it is what it is, that you can use as a highlighter as well. So look, it is still a color, it is still bold, it is still makeup, it's very quick. And I just like it a bit more. And you've got that highlighted cheek. It's not like this. It's a little bit more subtle. It's a little bit more pretty, I think. And lucky, like blush is trendy. It has been for the past few years. So there's a lot of beautiful blushes around. But I sort of just prefer to do that on a daily basis. I think it looks a little bit more youthful. This looks a little bit like old and dated. So instantly, that looks a lot nicer, in my opinion. In my opinion, things have changed. Even close up, like you can see skin texture, but it just looks a lot glowier and look like nice. Not so nice. Okay, where life has really changed is with the eyes. I'm going to start with the eyeshadow and I'm going to put on some glitter glue here because I was all about the intensity. So I've got the Too Faced Glitter Glue, which is a great product if you're going to be putting glitter on, I'm just going to say. But I was all about wanting to have a really bold, intense eyeshadow, which is not my vibe now. I'm actually going to admit that I'm looking forward to doing this eye because I don't do a lot of eyeshadow these days and it's kind of fun. I am going in with the Undergrowth palette from Cosmic Brushes because this is the kind of color vibe that I would have been frothing over back in the day. And I'm going to go the most shifty color because anything that's like really shifty and interesting, I'd be interested in. I'm also going to use some of the grungy greens. Again, playing with these eye looks, very fun, but I can't do it these days. This is a fun color, I have to say, and it's a beautiful texture. But besides the time that it takes to create these sort of looks on a daily basis, I also find them very hard to wear just in my daily life. And that's a huge change of circumstances. So this is something that I would have worn filming, going out, catching up with friends, whatever. Now I usually am working from home, taking my kid to kinder, taking them to appointments, going to the shops. If I'm going anywhere with friends, it might be like a park on the weekend or a cafe or something. So nothing that requires this amount of makeup. Not only did this make more sense in the sort of time that was, so that a lot of makeup was something that if you went out, you'd see people with really elaborate eye makeup. But it was also I was sort of getting into the beauty scene. So sometimes would go to events at brand things and everyone had like crazy eye makeup and really elaborate eye makeup. So it wasn't out of place. Whereas in my daily life, if I wore this to pick up kinder, people would turn heads and be like, what have you been up to? What's happening? When I did my eyeliner, I kind of did it quite bold as well. And obviously you can, because if you're going really bold with the eyeshadow, you sort of can balance it out a little bit more. I used to also bring it in really far into here, so it would be like lined all the way along. Mascara. And don't forget lashes. Now I always went with half lashes because if I had lashes that went too far in, they would irritate my eyes. So I always cut my lashes in half. And the funny thing is with this amount of liner, the lashes don't actually make that much difference. You can barely bloody see them, but we'll let that dry. While we're here, let's just finish off by doing the brow. And I've just got some dip brow pomade, which was a common thing that I used and I still use to this very day. So now what I used to do was look, brows have changed a bit. Firstly, I did have a mole here that I got lasered off. So I used to do my brows bigger to sort of encapsulate the mole, if that made sense. I've also had my brows tattooed years ago. I probably need to get them redone, but I used to do them a lot bolder. It was a trend as well, and a lot bigger. And there was that fade. People used to do a bit of a fade going on here. There we go. To be fair, match the intensity of the eye. Now for this sad eye, look at the difference. I'm going to put a little bit of primer on. I just pop a tiny bit. So this is my Kaleidos one that I'm currently panning. And I don't use primer every day. It's just that I'm trying to pan it. So I'm trying to just blend this out a little bit. This eye, I'm just going to be using a NARS palette. Now, I don't even use palettes too much these days. This is a summer unrated palette. I'm just going to use this in some mattes. Now, what I do these days, I don't even know if this was the right brush, probably not. It's sort of just about looking a little bit more polished, a little bit awake, but not too dominating. Now, I also learnt doing sort of online work meetings for the past couple of years is that if I go really dark with my makeup, I look really tired on work camera. So all I do is I like to go something that's not quite my skin tone, something that's a little bit different, but is a bit brightening. So nothing too light, like this sort of frosty light I don't like, but something that's got a little bit of light reflection, a little bit brightening I really like. Maybe just a little bit of a matte in the crease. And I run a little bit, again, this is all with a fluffy brush, that's all with the same brush. Just a little bit on the lower lash line to sort of give a bit of colour down there. What I like to do now with my liner is slightly different. I don't like to take it all the way through. I don't like to make it thick. I still like to use liner to define my eyes, but I like to just keep it in the outer corner. So I sort of stop there. Gives a bit of a lift to the eye. There's a little bit of definition, but I've kept it really close to the lash line up here. I'm going to use the same mascara, which is my Macstack mascara, but I'm going to take off a lot from the wand. I still like a bit of definition. I like a bit of lift. Concentrating a lot of the length on the outer corner. And then I'd pop a little bit on the lower lash line. With the brow, since I have had them tattooed, I do put a bit of color in them because I find that as soon as I put makeup on, they sort of recede a little bit. Like they're fine when I'm not wearing makeup, but I just like to take a micro pencil and sort of fill them in a bit just to give them a little bit more definition. Nothing crazy, just to sort of bring them back because they also get covered a little bit with the base product, but I do prefer like that sort of flicky effect of a micro pencil, and this one's just from Mecca. Again, I'll have the details in the description box, and then I just brush that through. So not as bold, a lot more natural, but polished as well. So what I do with this eye is I like to look awake. I like to look like feel like I can conquer the day. It's super quick and easy. Again, the eyeshadow probably took a minute. The brow took, you saw it, like 20 seconds. So it is a lot more simpler, a lot quicker. It's very pretty. It matches the sort of cheek that I've been going for a lot lately. And I feel like it looks a lot more youthful than this. This to me looks really heavy, weighed down. There's a time and a place, which might be like going to a concert or something. But this at the moment, it's not my jam. Even if I was going to a concert, I wouldn't do as much liner and brows. I would probably do similar sort of thing as here, just a color on the lid. I feel like this is an ad for Wicked. Already zoomed out, I feel like even though I am now 39, this looks so much more youthful than this, which was what I was wearing at 29. So the difference is crazy. I've always loved a red lip. These days I probably wouldn't pair this with a red lip. That's like too much. But I did do that back in the day. So I've got another MAC product. This is a liquid lipstick in the shade Quite the Standout. Liquid lipsticks were really big back then. I don't wear them so much these days. That color is stunning and there's nothing wrong with this formula. I would totally wear that. I would totally wear that on this side. I just find that on a daily basis, liquid lipsticks can feel quite heavy and dry after a while. I much prefer something that I can sort of glide on. If I need to touch up, I touch up. It's not that big a deal. If it fades down, at least it sort of fades down more naturally. It doesn't feel suffocating. I also love this kind of look because I still do wear a red on a daily basis. Like I went to a play center with my kids yesterday. I wore a red lip in the morning on a Saturday. Like I wear a red lip, but I think it just looks a lot more sort of the statement feature when I wear it with this side than when I wear it with this side. This side, it sort of looks like we've got a lot going on. Whereas if I put a red lip on this one, I've got a Shiramira red lip here in Matte Red 156. I love this because it's a lot lighter of a consistency. This one just happens to be a bit of a raspberry red. I don't prefer that. That's not, I still go for orange reds a lot. It's just that the orange red version of this is, I think it's in my handbag. But this lip, it does still have a really beautiful sort of bold, sort of one of those silicone matte sort of finishes. So it's a lot more comfortable. But the good thing is if it wears down, it just starts to look like a bit of a cherry red lip and like a little bit of a faint red lip rather than it looking sort of really patchy and dry. It's also a lot more comfortable. You can see there's a lot more moisture to it. So for me, like comfort trumps finish any day of the week. This is still really pretty, but I would wear this out with more of a sort of nude eye and maybe a statement liner as like a bit of a pin-uppy kind of look. But yeah, that's sort of the difference between how I wore my makeup. It's a lot. it's a look. Look, I don't hate everything here. I would tweak things a little bit. So again, I wouldn't do two big feature things going on. I would not do this and this. No way in hell. I've learned this just looks horrible on me. It doesn't work for my skin tone. I'd pull back the liner and the lashes a little bit, and I'll pull back the brows. And I'll probably put it with like a nude lip. Also, if I was to wear any sort of spray, which I don't tend to do, these days I would go for something more hydrating. So this is a Pixi Hydrating Milky Mist. So I'd much prefer to sort of hydrate my face. Like I need to set it because that's just what my skin needs, but I want to sort of rehydrate it. Whereas back in the day, I would have sort of tried to make this last as long as possible. Yeah, you smell like alcohol. I did love the days where I had time and I had the creativity and I had the places to go to justify doing something like this. But I also love that I don't feel like I'm naked without it these days, because the transition did take some time. When I pared back the eyes, especially, I felt like my eyes looked really small and I didn't like it. I don't think a lot of this actually had anything to do with trends. I think this mainly had to do with lifestyle. And as soon as I had kids and I had only like a short period of time to get my makeup done, I really had to pare back and choose what I wanted to focus on. But then also, like in my lifestyle, this feels really out of place. So even though there's sometimes I want to play with some cool makeup, and I still do, I just feel like this works better in my life, and I feel like I don't get weird looks from people in the shops being like, why is she walking around with a daggy t-shirt, leggings, and makeup that like she's going out to a drag show? Like what? Also, the 10 years difference really shows that I feel like the more makeup you wear, the cakier that your makeup is, it can actually look a lot older. So you need to sort of learn to pull it back, focus a bit more on hydrating products, things that make you look a little bit more glowy to counterbalance what your skin's doing as you age. But zoomed out, I like them both. Like besides that bronzer business, I would wear both. I would wear both of these. I actually feel like what I've got to do now is put some more eye makeup on here and just rock it for this afternoon. Just popping back to show you what I've done to remedy that sort of split face that I had before. I have toned down the eyebrow a little bit, tried to match the eye a little bit, so I've got that green going on. I actually put a little bit of my foundation over my bronzer and redid the cheek with the blush. I love a red lip, but with the cheek and with eye and the red lip it was too much, so I've just put a nude lip gloss on. Yeah, can still do it, just look a little bit more balanced. I like it. I think this is really pretty. Anyway, hopefully you found that interesting to see how my makeup is now versus how my makeup was 10 years ago. And I still see in my future that I might be that lady with the crazy purple hair wearing crazy eyeshadow while she's walking her poodle. That could still be me. I still have the ability to do it. I still have the products to do it. So that might be in my cards, but I just need to get rid of all my bronzers because that's a no. So I'd love to hear in the comments how your makeup has changed over the last decade. What have you started doing differently? Did you realize there was something that doesn't suit you and you just decided to get rid of it? Was it to do with trends? Oh, I realized I ruined my nail polish. That's sad. I'd love to chat about it in the comments, and thank you to everyone who suggested this topic because things have changed a lot, and I've embraced it. Like I still love makeup, and sometimes people are like, Kat, do you still love makeup because you don't wear your eyeshadows as much? I still do. I like it in a different way, which is fine, which is totally fine. So let's chat in the comments, and if you missed any of the product names, I'll have them in the description box, and I'll have probably the 2015 face and the 2025 face, and I'll have them separated so you can tell. And a big thank you to my members for supporting this channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.